And welcome back to another episode of the Hats Off Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Noah.
And I'm your other host, Liam. And this week, we're doing the Spike Lee 2018 epic Blackkklansman.
A Spike Lee joint, if you will.
Yes.
First
things first.
Yeah.
Why did Noah pick it?
I picked this movie because, I think first and foremost, it's a well-done movie. It has a lot of up-and-coming actors in it that I think really shined in their roles. And, I think it's a story that needed to be told. And, I think they did a good job telling it. And there are some themes within the movie that, I think are so relevant today.
Yep.
Especially, with what has happened so far this year.
Indeed.
So, and it's also just a really good movie. So, and plus you haven't seen it yet. And
True.
I've asked you multiple times to watch it, and you haven't. So I figured, we might as well just do it for this.
That's fair enough. And it was on my list anyway, so I would have gotten it at some point. So I'm glad that I did. First watch, loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty riveting. At certain points, very crippling and kind of like revolting.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of wince. But at other points, you're like, damn, it's pretty funny. It's almost taking a satirical look at how fucking far gone a lot of those guys were.
Yeah.
But like you said earlier, we were talking about it, kind of blows it out of the water in terms of realistic representation. I don't know if it was necessarily. Well, I'm fine with that as long as it still holds true to some aspect of like what actually happened, and I think that it does. I mean, the general idea, you know what I mean. But like when you redo a movie or when you redo a story that is true, you kind of have to blow it out of proportion to make it movie worthy. So,
Well, I think like because what I was under the assumption that like a lot of how the Ku Klux Klan members are portrayed and a lot of like what they say and their actions, I think Spike Lee wanted to be as inaccurate as possible, just to to symbolize just how idiotic they are.
Yeah.
In a way. So I think if any of the story was, I guess, exaggerated or made up, it was that part. But I think just like the basic storyline, is true.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, but yeah, so so and like you said too, there definitely were parts watching it, where it was just like it was kind of a little uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
The specific scenes with, I guess for instance when, Patrice gets pulled over by the cops.
Yep.
That scene.
Yeah, that's pretty realistic and hits home a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah,
and it's kind of hard to think about kind of like what the political leanings were in Colorado Springs at the time, because the only thing you hear out of Colorado nowadays is like kind of how far left everything is. So it's like, I just think that kind of switched over, and now it's obviously 1979 or
in the
early
70s.
Right. So everything switched. It's 40 plus years ago. So, but yeah, just interesting to see how things were different. But at some certain perspective, not that different. So,
do you think one of the things I was thinking about, like, is this a role? Would you, if you were an actor, would you take on like a role in this film as like a David Duke or as like a Felix, like guys that are like openly racist throughout the film and have to portray this racist character to such an extent, and to like, would you be okay with and comfortable with doing that as an actor? Like, and saying like all like the racial slurs that they talk about in the film, even though it's fictitious.
Yeah,
it's still like a film that a million people are gonna watch of you portraying this
right
really disgusting character.
Sure, because I mean, if you're an actor, that's what you do for your living. Mm-hmm. And if you're an actor that's trying to achieve certain levels of either not necessarily fandom, but like, when Leo DiCaprio goes and almost starves himself to death when he does Revenant, or I guess take Leo again when he gets super racist in Django and he owns the slaves, you know what I mean? Like, at that point, he can kind of take himself away from being a person and then putting himself into an actor. So, I mean, if I was that good of an actor where I was a method actor and I could get into that role,
it's definitely
100%.
a challenging role to undertake.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably really, I mean, like Topher Grace reportedly was like distraught after he had done it because of the, not backlash, but like the personal, feelings that he had about it.
I feel like
I just think it would be tough to kind of like go back to some of like if you have black friends, maybe it would be kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But if they see you as a true professional, then it shouldn't be a problem.
That's the thing, though.
So,
but for like some people, it might just hit home too much. It might be like too realistic.
Like Quentin Tarantino, dude's got like the N-word pass, right? Mm-hmm. He in all of his movies, he's got it, and he's separating his art form from his life, where he is just trying to be as, well, I guess not accurate necessarily because he throws it in there, but I mean, especially in Django, absolutely. But he still, at the end of the day, knows the difference between his art and his personal life. So that's where it kind of comes into play when you're using the slurs and you're using like the ideologies. You kind of have to be like hard-headed and say like, I'm gonna go back to my regular life now. Than, but I don't think it would like, if you were in that role, it would like brainwash you. It would just really affect, if you have values and you have beliefs and you're saying all that stuff. Obviously, it's on camera, but
I know. I
think it's tough to beat when you get out of it.
But. Yeah, it's probably, and I feel like too, like I look at the way in which they sit and like how they speak about like the way they use these racial slurs. In like say like Django, for instance, like that's like that's set in the 1800s. That's pre-Civil War, so I feel like the way they use it isn't with as much hatred and like vindictiveness as the way they use it in this film.
Yeah,
because it's portrayed in a different time period where it's like during the Civil Rights Movement, Black Power, people like Black African Americans are fighting for equality. So and now they're fighting more now than they were during like the time period which Django was set. So now now the Ku Klux Klan, they're fighting even more of them by, for instance, using racial slurs. So I feel like in this film and in this time period, the racial slurs that are used, I think they're with much more hate and vindictiveness than they were during like the 1800s. Which I mean is not like it's not right either way. Yeah. But I think during like the 1800s, it was just like I guess like common talk.
That's true.
In the South, at least.
That's a good point. But I also think like obviously you have to keep things separate and like make it exaggerated for the movie.
No, yeah.
But the closer that you get to the actual like the actuality of the event, the more the more.
Yeah, I mean this is definitely like the G version of what actually happened, even though it's an R-rated film.
Yeah, so and it also kind of gives the viewer a little bit more inspiration to kind of move on and do their thing. Yeah. Now that they're watching it, a 2018 movie talking about a 1975 event or whatever, and we're in 2020 looking back at that, and what that will affect so it kind of comes full circle in terms of like the importance of it, but yeah, I didn't think that any scene was necessarily out of place.
I think the scene that hit me the most was when they were talking about the lynching of Jesse Washington. Yeah. Which like actually happened. Yeah. And like I mean even like they didn't portray anything that happened. They barely even showed a couple photos, but just hearing the guy talk about it and talk about what happened. I mean that was just enough to like give me a mental picture of just how gruesome it was. Yeah.
Plus, I'll get to that scene in terms of the dichotomy of like what was going on in the movie, but we can talk about that later. All right.
So
it's gonna go down the list. I start the movie off with Alec Baldwin. Like, didn't expect to see that. Yeah. And he's. I don't know if you've ever seen the Royal Tenenbaums.
No, it's on my list.
Well, it's another Wes Anderson movie. Anyway, he narrates it. And he's a much better narrator than you would think. Like, I just think he's like, he's just kind of got that like that voice that's very like he can be very like he's very in this movie. He's really good at exposition, right? He comes out, kind of sets the tone. They talk a lot of things that he says in the beginning, like the propaganda that he's talking about. So
Yeah.
good start to the movie, good exposition, kind of sets you on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, just a A-lister coming out with it. So
I mean, yeah, the cast is like stacked.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I remember seeing like, cause I watched this movie like a year ago, so a year after it came out, and I remember like seeing when it was nominated for. We can get into this later, but it was nominated for Best Picture, and I remember seeing it, and I was like, and I had no idea what the film was about, and I was like kind of curious, and even at the time I didn't know who John David Washington was. I didn't really know who Adam Driver was. But I guess watching it now after like the success that they've had, it kind of gives you a different perspective. But yeah.
Yeah, and that beginning scene with like all of his kind of like conspiracy theory talk kind of remind me of like some people today, like you know, not necessarily racial conspiracies, but like, you know, the guys that kind of rant all the time about specific conspiracies like like not necessarily climate change or like maybe like chemtrails or anything crazy like that. So just kind of reminded me of that that kind of talk, kind of like Alex Jones talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a big conspiracy theorist.
Got a little schmutz on your chin there.
My milkshake.
Yeah, saving that for later.
Yeah, trying to. Did you watch the? Did you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast? The episode of Alex Jones.
I listened to all of them, dude. I fucking love Alex Jones. He's hilarious.
I didn't listen to the one with. I didn't listen to it, but I heard it was like really controversial.
He's hilarious.
Because like, Spotify got in trouble about it.
Well, no, Spotify's been in. No, Spotify got Joe Rogan. They were pissed off at Joe Rogan for not fact checking the stuff that they talked about on the show.
Okay.
And then I'm guessing that they went into like a discussion. And he was like, "I'm gonna have my boy Alex Jones on because my fucking ratings go up when I have this dude on.
Yeah.
I'll fact check everything he says because I think it's like a good amount of the time Alex Jones says some pretty correct shit.
How do you fact check for conspiracy theory though?
Well, they're not all conspiracy theories. They're like he has a lot of facts.
Okay.
But the dude also said that Sandy Hook was fake, so kind of hard to trust the dude. That's it. Anyway.
Yeah, you can't really like. Yeah, that's a big
You can't trust every word he says. You can't trust a lot of the stuff he says, but some of the stuff is like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's what he reminded me of. He kind of even looked like him in that scene, just with hair.
Just so yeah.
And then
so one. So one thing that I was thinking of was, I guess, do you think that because John David Washington, who's the son of Denzel Washington, he's obviously plays a role of the protagonist in this film.
Yeah.
And he also is the protagonist, no pun intended, in Tenet. Yeah. Do you think that he's going to be like one of the new like A-list blockbuster movie stars like in the future?
Absolutely, dude. Dude shines like immediately, like first scene.
Yeah.
You know, comes on. You know, the sheriff or the head deputy or whatever chief is like, "How do you handle racism?" And then he says, "Am I going to experience that here?"
Yeah.
And the other black cop goes, "Shit."
Yeah.
That was like, I saw that and I'm like, that's the no, well, fucking duh.
Yeah.
I've never seen in my life. Nah, he's gonna be a big star. And I read something on IMDb that was like, the original detective when they found out they were making that movie, he wanted Denzel.
Yeah.
But then they got his son.
You got the next best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it kind of worked out.
I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed him in this film and in Tenet. So
yeah.
I'm excited to see what he has.
Dude's got some spunk, absolutely.
Coming up in the future.
Dude's good.
He's
got a good, like, I didn't see Sorry to Bother You, but that's like...
He wasn't in that.
No, I know. That's Lakeith Stanfield, but...
Yes.
That's kind of like the same voice in that movie. Mm-hmm. You know, it was like... It's like...
Lakeith Stanfield's white voice?
Yeah. That's kind of like... I mean, I think it came out in the same year, so I don't think it was inspired by that.
Yeah.
But it sounded almost exactly like it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I do know that's what it sounds like. But no, really, really interesting, like impression, and you know, it was. I mean, I guess the quality of the phones back then. I guess you wouldn't hear like super like subtleties in the voice. Like obviously, like when they first get to when Flip. Yeah, when Adam Driver first gets to their their pool house or whatever. He's like, I don't recognize your voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like nowadays with the technology, obviously you couldn't do this because you just be like, oh, look this guy up on Facebook and see that he's not the same guy. But the quality of the phones will probably be able to catch that right away.
I think it's funny too how this whole investigation comes about because he just calls him as like a prank.
Yeah.
And he uses this actual name, and then
it
bites him it doesn't bite him in the ass, but like it bites him whatever because he's a call back literally like not even 30 seconds later.
Yeah. But, and it's all about the times, like if they had done this investigation 10, 20 years earlier, they could have gotten away with it because, just the way that technology moved at that point and getting around phone books and all that. So, but yeah, I also think that, you could still hear like the original Denzel kind of voice when he's talking normally. Like he's still got a little bit of like his classic dad's voice, and then you can tell he just whitewashes it.
Yeah.
Even before he gets on the phone and talks to David Duke, he already kind of whitewashes his voice.
Yeah.
Because he wants to fit in with the rest of the cops. Like when he's in that interview.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think he's like totally putting the scene on right off the bat. So it kind of foreshadows what he ends up doing to get, to his next level.
He doesn't change his voice when he first calls him.
Right. Well, yeah. Right.
So maybe that's already his changed voice. His changed voice is like when he's in a professional setting.
Right.
Whereas like when he's like out with Patrice or he's at like a undercover,
Right. But yeah, I just thought about it as whitewashing your voice because you're applying for a job that is primarily for white dudes. So, at the time. So,
which is why you brought up "Sorry to Bother You."
Right.
Yeah, which is like I guess the whitewashing your voice to a whole other extreme.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I love the cutscenes like in between. You show like the rocks and the mountains of Colorado. Yeah. And you got like the music going. That's a beautiful,
I like
beautiful
that
cutscenes.
Like it had like the same like the soundtrack was really good.
Soundtrack was
and it had like that same like song play throughout.
Yep. It's kind of hard to describe that. It's hard to describe the way that it makes it like feel.
Yeah.
But like they even played in the background in that dichotomy scene between the group of the
KKK.
Black Panthers and then
the
KKK.
The Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado
College Black Student Union or whatever.
They played in the background of that, and it sounds like kind of like a superhero theme in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know how to even explain.
It doesn't. It's music that matches, like the African American culture and that side of the story.
Yeah.
It's not music that you would kind of like associate with like.
You know what it makes me think of?
What?
In Black Panther, when they do fucking Michael B. Jordan's
robs the
soundtrack.
When he robs the when he robs the mask.
Every time that like Michael B. Jordan's in the scene, it goes to that like kind of like bass drop soundtrack. And that's just kind of what it reminds me of. It kind of gives it like a cultural shock in terms of like that kind of sound. And I'm a big fan of that. That's sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it takes a...
Because it has like the whistles kind of in the background.
Yeah, it takes a traditional like movie score and just kind of gives it a little twist in terms of like a cultural hit to it. So that's kind of what I felt like. Didn't have the same punch, but it was something that kept the story moving.
It was subtle. It was a subtle.
Yeah, it was subtle, and it matched the tone and it matched the pacing. The pacing of this movie, I think, is one of the best things.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't. Yeah,
it kind of just rolls. It doesn't really slow down. Every time that they hit a snag, they figure it out. Every time that they, try to, do some undercover stuff. They keep moving. They find something else. Like there's.
I think one of the biggest parts of the story that doesn't get talked about enough or isn't recognized is like the fact that Flip was Jewish.
Yeah.
and
That's a good point.
that the Ku Klux Klan, while they hate African Americans, they also hate Jews because Nazis hated Jews.
Yeah.
So I thought that was important too, that he was because so he was a person. He wasn't pure white Aryan blood like they talked about. So putting him in this situation where he has to actually be there in person, I mean, he's probably really uncomfortable for him.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when he's going to take that lie detector test.
Yeah, yeah. And he's just trying to say the most nonsensical things he can come up with just to get out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I thought that was, and then too when
it kind of brings him more down to earth too. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's not racist or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or would never side with them, but he brings it down to another marginalized.
It's kind of a comedic sense. It has a comedic element to it.
Yeah.
When you hear him talk about it, because you just know how it's just not
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, being in that environment where they're saying "fuck the Jews," all that.
Yeah.
It brings out a feeling in him where I never really paid attention to this shit, but now I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
And so it kind of it almost kind of brings it all the way back around where the people that are hating so much on one side are fueling the love on the other side, I guess you could say, or the awareness on the other side, or the cohesiveness on the other side, because I think that might even be one of the biggest parts of the movie where you have a marginalized side and then you have the hatred side, and one gets in, they accept him, but they don't know it.
Yeah.
And then the other side, when they come back to them at the end, they're a little more tight. You know what I mean? He's got his girl, and I don't know. I just think it was.
I guess it just shows that how just idiotic the ideology of a white supremacist is.
Right.
It's you can't even he wouldn't even know that Flip was Jewish if he didn't tell him. So you're hating someone based off an ideology that makes no sense.
Right. Exactly.
So I think we should then jump into the scene that you're talking about and the dichotomy of the two.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with that?
I'll get there in a second. There's
right.
one scene, the scene where Kwame Ture is talking, and they're in the auditorium. I just thought it was a really nice touch to zoom in on people's faces. Everything behind them was dark.
Yeah.
And it would just show people's faces, and it wasn't like they were pissed off. It wasn't like they were rioting or anything, going crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of them were looking up in admiration.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really nice touch to show the first inclination would be to be peaceful and admire.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to a certain extent, it starts to get to that point. So I think that was really cool because it kind of just they're in the crowd, but they just black out the background and they just show the face.
Well, that's also too their massive afros to contribute to that.
That's true. But yeah, it was just their face. There was nothing in the background.
Yeah.
Really cool scene.
Just to focus on their facial expressions.
Yeah.
And how they react. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that dichotomy scene. So in one stance or one scene, one part of the scene, they're all in the room listening to that old man talk about the lynching. The
black Colorado State College black student union, something like that.
Yeah. They're all in there, and then as that's going on, they're initiating Adam Driver into the KKK at that point.
Mm-hmm. And organization. It jumps from the two scenes.
Jumps to and fro, and just really, really well done. Really well done. The pacing is the same in both. Everybody's kind of walking around. Nothing's too fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
A really big build up. It's an initiation scene. They're initiating this one person into a society, whereas that guy is, I guess you could also say, initiating these young individuals into that ideology. So
yeah.
They're both kind of, breaking through to the other side in a way, and they're paced really well together, and then combined with that same soundtrack in the background.
Yeah.
So
jumping back and forth. No, yeah, it's a really powerful scene that I think it ties the whole movie together.
Yeah.
And I think too. It's when the KKK members are chanting, I thought this was a really powerful scene too when they're chanting "America first, America first, America first,"
Mm-hmm.
and it pans to like the wait staff, and it's the two white white female waitresses that are smiling, and then it's the four African American ones, and they're just like in shock of what they're being forced to witness.
That's true.
And that I thought that was a really powerful scene too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then too, also I thought it funny when it was funny when Ron asked David Duke for a picture, and then right as he's about to take the picture, he like puts his hand on him.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, and then David Duke and the other guy were just like act like they just got like
punched in the face.
Yeah, like they touched like acid or something.
Yeah, that's like, crazy.
Yeah.
Big fan of the first scene where they're Steve Buscemi's brother, and big shout out to Michael Buscemi, I think, or something.
I don't think it's Michael.
Maybe it's Harry or something. I don't fucking know.
Harry.
Anyway, they're all in like that locker room.
Michael, yeah, you're right.
Michael, yeah. They're all in that locker room, and they're kind of discussing their game plan, and it just seemed so genuine. It was like really captivating to see them all kind of like bouncing ideas off of each other about both races and like culture and getting to know each other, and then talking their game plan, and just seemed really genuine. I think Adam Driver took that scene away, but Washington came back and was like always kind of keeping that going, kind of keeping it pushing. He was kind of the life force of the movie, kind of like the, obviously a protagonist, keeping everything going. But like, in that scene, I just think it just set the tone for the rest of it. It was a really good relationship for them, for those two, and then obviously the partner, Jimmy.
It's funny how willing they were to how quickly they were willing to listen to and let a rookie lead an investigation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I guess that, especially for flipping Jimmy, like they're just how it just shows like how open they are to that.
Yeah.
Whereas you got the other officer, whose name is
the racist dude.
Yeah, his name is I just had it.
Landers.
Andy Landers, yeah.
Landers.
And he's just like a complete scumbag. He calls the what does he call the files he needs to get?
Toads.
Yeah, and then he calls Ron Officer Toad.
Yeah.
Just a complete.
Yeah, he's prick.
And I thought it was funny too how Ron just like starts to like punch the air.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I thought that was funny too.
Yeah, like a lot of these scenes actually have like a lot of comedy to it.
That's Spike Lee though for you.
Yeah, like really kind of brings it down to earth. And like you said earlier, just kind of bringing not light, but bringing comedy to a situation where you just need to laugh and say, "What the fuck are they thinking?"
Yeah, hats off to Spike Lee.
Hats off to Spike Lee,
because he definitely takes some controversial and what's the word I'm looking for? Controversial and difficult societal issues and topics, and he brings them to light in entertaining yet realistic and effective ways. So hats off to Spike Lee for doing that.
One scene I gotta say that really made me cringe. The first one was when by the way, the dude who plays Felix.
Yeah. Oh, he's like not even an American.
He's a Finnish.
Yeah.
He walked into the audition, apparently from IMDb.
Yeah.
Walked into the audition and started doing like that American accent.
Yeah.
And he didn't tell them where he was from until the end of it because Spike Lee thought he was American 100%. He just hired him on the spot.
He played it well.
Crazy. I did not see that.
He reminded me of the Skarsgårds. How he looked, like his eyes and his facial features. He reminds me of the Skarsgård.
Yeah, well, they're Scandinavian, so that's probably what.
Well, yeah, that's what.
Yeah. But yeah, so scene with him and his fucking prick-ass wife, Connie or whatever.
Yeah.
What a fucking bitch. Anyway.
She's probably the worst character in the movie.
She sucks.
In a movie full of neo-Nazi Ku Klux Klan racists, the worst character is the wife, Connie. She fucking sucks.
She sucks. Anyway, they're in bed, and they're just talking about like killing black people.
Yeah.
And I fucking cringed. I was like, what? I almost
Yeah.
throw up.
Yeah.
That was disgusting. And she makes it worse throughout the movie. She ends up, no spoilers alert, but she ends up leaving a bomb at one of their houses, and like works with them to try and do her part because she doesn't feel like she's adding it. Because all she does is cook little snacks for the Klan meetings. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, she should have gotten got.
Yeah,
but you know.
But yeah,
can't have everything.
Anyway, and then another scene is when they're watching that movie, Birth of a Nation.
Yeah.
In the same scene, like it's the same like dichotomy scene where they're talking about how that when that movie was dropped and you know what they call a blockbuster because everyone saw it, and then they're showing it in the freaking initiation scene. It's just crazy, and they're all laughing, having popcorn. Big fan of the dude with the glasses, the leader of the
sergeant.
Yeah.
Or no. Oh yeah.
The dude.
Ryan Eggold, I think is his name. It's Ryan Eggold. Yeah, I thought he was really good.
What was his name in the movie?
Walter.
Breachway. Yeah, Walter, the dude who plays him. Big fan of him. He's gonna be in some shit.
I feel like it's not like the actor very good, but the character itself, like he's probably the most likable.
Yeah.
Of them, which isn't really like something you should be saying.
Right, but in retrospect, he's just the most like respectful guy overall. I mean,
yeah, he's
even with some of the stuff that they do, he's like hesitant about. You know,
he's very yeah. And the actor Ryan Eggold, he's in Blacklist too, and he's very, very good in that. So check that out if you haven't checked it out.
And now we come down to the one nitpick of the movie that I have, and I can't get over.
Okay.
All right, I love the ending.
Oh yeah, I can talk about this.
I love the ending where they go into Charlottesville. It ties in great. That's good. Other than the fact that it was the last scene, I like that they ended that. But when you end a movie with no real catharsis of, oh, great job, you did a great job, we give you an unpayable debt, unpayable debt to this town and this state. But we're gonna cut the department. We have budget cuts. That seems like a phone-in to me. With a movie this great and everything came together perfectly, and then you end it like that, and then have to end it with something else that somebody else filmed. That seems like just a phone-in for me. I mean, I think I respect Spike Lee a lot more than to have a movie end on budget cuts. Maybe that's the most.
Do you think that's probably what actually happened?
Possibly, but out of all the things that you exaggerate in a movie that is true, you'd think that you'd give it a little better ending.
I was fine with the ending because honestly, how I look at it as they won this battle. All right, they won this battle, but they didn't win the war yet. All right, this is a battle that's still ongoing even today, which is why it's not really a happy ending because it's not an issue that is resolved, and that's why they cut it to the Charlottesville.
Well, it doesn't have to be a happy ending, and it obviously isn't. I'm just saying that when you end it with just budget cut, rather than, some people move and things happen. Obviously, there was still going to be a cross burning. There was still going to be, I just feel like when you end it on that note, it just hits you like, is that it? Really? Couldn't do anything else?
I don't know. I disagree with you there, but I mean, that's fine. I like the ending. But yeah, I guess I feel for you. I'm sorry you feel that way, but
anyway, down to the last bit here. Won the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. Who wrote that?
It was Charlie Watchell, David Rabinowitz, Kevin Wilmot, and Spike Lee.
Well, hats off to them.
So it was probably, I bet 3 of those guys wrote the book or whatever, and Spike Lee adapted it.
Yep, most likely.
And as we talked about,
got nominated for the Best Picture of the Year.
Yes.
Jordan Peele was one of the producers, as well as Jason Blum, who owns, or the CEO of Blumhouse Pictures, or Studios, which does a lot of horror movies.
Yes.
What was the rest of the nominees that year? So what was that? 2018?
19. It was the 2019 awards. So that was That was after Green Room, because Green Room was 18, I think.
Yeah, I think. Well, no. Green Book was 2019.
Green Book. Oh, Green Book was 2019?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No.
Alright,
I gotta watch that.
So if I was voting between this and Green Book, I would have chose Green Book too.
Oh, really?
Green Books are way better. It's not like a way better movie, but it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
So I'm not upset with that.
Well, it was a good. I did not see Green Book, but it was a good year. So Green Book, Black Panther, Blackkklansman, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Didn't see that, but
Don't think that deserved to get that up.
yeah.
The Favorite, Roma, Fire, Stars Born, great. Vice, maybe.
Black Panther shouldn't have gotten nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Not to nitpick, but it shouldn't have.
Yeah. Best Director, Spike Lee got nom for Best Director. Alfonso Cuarón won. And then what else did they get?
You say Adam Driver got nominated?
I don't know.
Adam Driver got. I don't know if you said it, but Adam Driver got nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Okay, yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm.
And Film Editing nomination. Anyway, this movie was also created on a budget of $15 million. Opening weekend 10.
Mm-hmm.
Gross domestically 49, and then 993 million worldwide. Not bad. Not amazing, but not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's a movie that like it. I mean, it came out August 10th, end of the summer. It's not a movie that I don't think it was made to make money. It's made to tell a story. So, yeah. I'm glad you liked it. It seemed like you liked it.
Indeed, I did.
For anyone that needs a movie to watch, Blackkklansman is definitely a movie you should watch. So, very enjoyable.
Should I announce my next week?
Next week or next whatever week we get together to do this? Yeah, let's hear it.
Haven't decided yet.
Oh my fucking! Are you serious? Stay tuned.
We'll be back.
Said I got to get you.